Good morning and welcome. I'm going to do a few things today, just a few quick things, hopefully, for the new book, Kennedy and Trump by a guy named Greg Fernandez Jr. Just happens to be me. So, one thing I did want to do was read a little bit of the introduction here that I have. Just a little bit of the introduction. Go, Kennedy, go. Robert Francis Kennedy Jr. is the third of 11 children from Robert and Ethel Kennedy. He is the husband of actress Cheryl Hines and father of 7 children, including 1 with Hines and 6 from his 2 previous marriages. Kennedy graduated from Harvard University, the London School of Economics, and has a law degree from the University of Virginia. He is the chief litigation counsel for Children's Health Defense, and author of 2 New York Times best-selling books, Crimes Against Humanity and The Real Anthony Fauci. Kennedy was 10 years old when his uncle, President John Fitzgerald Kennedy, Kennedy was 10 years old when his uncle, President John Fitzgerald Kennedy, was assassinated in Dallas, Texas, and 14 when his father, Senator Robert Francis Kennedy, was murdered in Los Angeles, California. RFK Jr. may be the most prominent and credible person who remains skeptical about both assassinations. Kennedy believes the CIA was involved in his uncle's death and does not believe Sirhan Sirhan murdered his father. Kennedy describes himself as a science-based human being and was taught a powerful lesson by his father at an early age. My father told me when I was a little boy that people in authority lie, and the job in a democracy is to remain skeptical, said Kennedy. I've been science-based since I was a kid. Show me the evidence and I'll believe you, but I'm not going to take the word of official narratives. On October 9, 2023, Kennedy announced he was leaving the Democratic Party but would continue to run for President of the United States as an independent candidate. Immediately, 4 of Kennedy's siblings, Rory Kennedy, Kerry Kennedy, Joseph P. Kennedy II, and Kathleen Kennedy Townsend, attacked their brother for choosing to run as an independent candidate in the 2024 presidential election. In a joint statement on Twitter, the siblings called Kennedy's decision to run as a third-party candidate against Joe Biden dangerous to our country. Bobby might share the same name as our father, but he does not share the same values, vision, and judgment. Today's announcement is deeply saddening for us. We denounce his candidacy and believe it to be perilous for our country. Now, this shows how out of touch with reality some of the Kennedy family members were. Were the Fantastic Four unaware of the dangers over the last 4 years under the Biden administration? How could they turn a blind eye to all the harm Biden had done since 2021? Would their father want them to play politics by condemning their brother? Can you imagine Senator Robert F. Kennedy doing something similar to his brothers and sisters? Shame on the 4 siblings. They forced their brother to defend himself publicly. Kennedy responded by making sure people knew those 4 members of his family have strong, long friendships with President Biden. Kennedy also made a point to say he loved them even though they disagreed with him. Kennedy would separately state his political views were closely aligned with those of his father and uncle. There is strong evidence to support that statement. That's just a little bit there for Kennedy's part, and maybe next time I'll share a little bit about President Trump and how he got started. So that's how the book begins. It does also begin with a little quote by Kirk Cameron. What better way to start off a good book here with Kirk Cameron's quote? So I did skip that. I'm going to reread that. We have seen a shift in leadership in this country, and we have witnessed the social justice warriors and the progressive extremists sweep through our neighborhoods, leaving burnt-out cities, devastating economies, broken schools left in tatters, a moral wasteland for our children, and people who fully intend to occupy seats of power and civil government to usher in a new, secular, humanist, socialist America. Kirk Cameron is definitely right there That is the game plan for these socialists, is to change the country, change the world, change your mind, change the world. But first, they want to try to change this country, God's great nation. And I think in time, they may do it. They may do it, but not today. In the words of Captain America, not today. So while we have some time here on this earth, let's do something good. Let's do something positive. Let's respect our country. Let's respect where we came from, where all of this came from, where this country got started. If you live in this country, if you were born in this country, if you respect this country, if you love this country, you know exactly what I am talking about. If you are a non-citizen who wants to become a citizen legally, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And even the illegals understand this. They understand this. Why does everybody want to come here to the greatest country on God's green earth? There is a reason. And I do believe that we can do things, like Kennedy has said, we can do things to make the process easier for people to come through legally. But that does not give an excuse. It does not make it right for people to come here illegally. There's the harms of doing that. Just when you just think about the slave labor and those people that come through illegally, what they are subject to, and what the rights they don't have because they're not here legally. President Trump today gave people the opportunity to what is called self-deport. And I think it's probably fitting that I find that, hopefully it's up, and play that right now here. And then I'll get into the book, where you can get it, and all of that great stuff. But the book just really follows the rise of RFK Jr. and the rise of President Trump and how they got back into the White House. That is the ticket. So let me go ahead and find this. This is from the White House YouTube channel. That's about 1 minute and 30 some odd seconds here. So always want to give it that like. I'm already subscribed. Make sure it's in high def, and let's rock and roll.
Today, I signed an executive order to launch the first ever self-deportation program for illegal aliens. We are making it as easy as possible for illegal aliens to leave America. Any illegal alien can simply show up at an airport and receive a free flight out of our country. We have also launched a phone app called CBP Home. That's CBP Home, where illegals can book a free flight to any foreign country. As long as it's not here, you can go anywhere you want. We're also adding a very important exit bonus for illegals to further incentivize their self-deportation. This deportation bonus will save American taxpayers billions and billions of dollars. What Biden did to this country can never be explained, will never, ever be accepted. Eventually, when the illegals are gone, it will save us trillions of dollars. However, if illegal aliens choose to remain in America, they're remaining illegally, and they will face severe consequences. Illegal aliens who stay in America face punishments, including significant jail time, enormous financial penalties, confiscation of all property, garnishment of all wages, imprisonment and incarceration, and sudden deportation in a place and manner solely of our discretion. So to all illegal aliens, book your free flight right now. We want you out of America, but if you're really good, we're going to try and help you get back in. Thank you.
That is beautiful. What could be wrong with that? Not only just, instead of just kicking them all out the way that they should, that he could, it's giving them an opportunity, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Don't waste this. Don't waste this opportunity. Now, I'm curious to see what the numbers are and how many people actually do this. And that will show why people are coming in legally, or why they would possibly not want to come in through the legal means. Because of the corruption that has been happening in this great country. And there is a civil war of sorts, an internal fight of sorts. And a lot of that really took shape when President Trump became president. But in the second term, The tides have turned in Trump's favor, and in the greatest interest, in the best interest of this great nation. To be a great nation, you have to have borders. Kennedy has said that many times too. A nation without borders is not a nation at all. And this is where globalism comes in. For years, the Democrats have been fighting against globalism. I remember those days very vividly. And now all we hear is they want everything to be global. Globalism, socialism, communism. But we need borders. This great country, this great nation needs some type of borders in order to exist, or we are not a nation. We are not a country at all. I'm going to bring in my good friend here, Catherine. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for joining me here on this late notice. I kept going back and forth whether I was going to go live or not, and decided to pull that trigger a little bit.
Well, and as you know, I was whiplashing you too.
I saw that. I saw.
Yeah, the plans kept changing. It's like, oh my God. But
and that's just how life is, you know. It's ever changing, but usually always works out for the best, I would say. So glad to have you here.
Thanks.
I did want to give you a special thank you for editing this book here. I really appreciate that. So I wanted to thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome.
I will make sure to send you a finalized copy once it's officially approved. With all the drama I had to get it published, it's been a nightmare. It's been a nightmare.
It's hard, isn't it? I mean, people don't understand how hard it is to actually publish, self-publish or traditionally publish. It's hard work. Things happen, go wrong all the time.
Yeah, I really hate it. I hate it. I love the writing process. That's about it. Everything else just drives me crazy.
And what everybody needs to know, all of you guys out there, I mean, it's a good book. You know, I've read it through the editing process, and I won't give it away. It's a good book, and it's one you want to add to your shelf.
Thank you very much. Yeah, my dad, he was visiting us, so he started reading it too. So he's given me some good feedback on it, and I think he's also learned a lot from their trials, and just the similarities, some of the similarities of Kennedy and Trump, which was fascinating. He really loved the part where Kennedy talks about he's suing Trump back in the 90s or 80s or something like that, and his wife, Kennedy's wife, tells him, "Hey, we're going to take this trip and everything." And Donald Trump is gonna basically fly us out, and Kennedy is like, "I'm suing the guy. I'm suing, and why would you do this?" But that just shows, they can separate business and not take things personally. That was just
and that's a huge character issue. I mean, that to me plays to Trump's character. Again, I'm a lot older than you, and so I've watched Trump through the years, like from the 80s, way back when, and he was always an arrogant, pompous ass. I mean, there's no way around it. He is, but he accepts it. He embraces it. He's like, "Hey, this is who I am." But to be able, like you said, to be able to go, "Okay, you're suing me, but hey, you need some help. That's business. This is personal. Let's keep the two separate."
Yeah, I found that fascinating to me. Trump was trying to build a golf course by the Hudson River, I think, or something like that. And Kennedy was like, "No, that ain't gonna happen." And Kennedy won. Not only that, not only did he, sue Trump, he's actually beaten him. Kennedy's beaten Monsanto. I think he's still in a battle against the Biden administration. I don't know how that works out now, because since Biden's not in office or anything. And then he's suing Google too. So I don't know how any of that plays out. I think he had to kind of hand over some of that stuff when he joined Team Trump, or whatever you want to call it. So I'll be curious to see how all that plays out.
Definitely.
So it's gonna play a couple little short clips that I had, because I had missed a lot of stuff while I had family here. So there's some gain of function stuff that we have, but there's also the tariffs, I don't know if I'm sure you've heard about the tariffs. I don't really understand it that much. I've been hearing about it, and it's still kind of foreign to me. It just seems like a tax on everything. And the plan is to make sure the jobs stay here, right? If you're making things here, if your company is here, you don't have to worry about tariffs. Obviously, they're working on exceptions for certain parts. So even if the country is based here and they have buildings here and they do everything here, they're still buying products that are outside of the USA. So they're kind of working on that, trying to make some type of deal, some incentives. I heard they're going to give some incentives or what they call tax breaks. So these companies that are building things here, but they need parts out of state, they will get reimbursed when they buy those parts, something like that.
And here's the thing, it's again, and I'm not talking about and trying to make it, you're just a youngin, but you're a youngin. But see, I remember the 60s and the 70s when they were first, because everything back then, well, most things back then, if not all, were manufactured here in the States. Well, then laws kept creeping in and environmentalists kept showing up, not saying that they're always bad, but then the big fight. And then it's like, well, no, you're polluting our ground. And then taxes started increasing on these businesses to where they couldn't afford to stay open. So it was cheaper to move the businesses overseas. And, I remember debating these topics, in grades, in high school in the late 70s. And we would, get on opposite ends. The teacher would have us, pro, keeping industry here versus, those who want industry to go overseas. And we would have these debates in high school about the pros and the cons of that. And back then we saw where we are now, right? We're like going, hey, this is what's going to happen. We're going to end up with nothing here. Our country's going to start going down the tubes. We're going to lose everything. And now it's coming down to tariffs. And I agree that we have as a country have allowed so many others to get away with so much. They have screwed us left, right, and center. But that's been at the fault of everybody. Both sides of the coin have been guilty of that and allowing it to continue. The fact that Trump is like going, hey, you know what? We're going to stop this now and we're going to even out these tariffs. And actually, let's bring some of this work home. And I don't know. It's such a bigger situation than I think most, especially the younger people today, than they realize. They have really no idea how deep this goes into the history of America.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's all a great learning experience. And the more that I see it, the more I realize how very little I understand about it. But I do hope that it works out. And one of the things that stands out to me are you can see who is lined up against Trump on the tariff thing. And these are usually the people that have been benefiting from the globalism, from like outsourcing and everything. And not to say that they're all bad or anything like that, but you can see it's the same cast of characters.
Yeah, and generally not just the outsourcing, they're backing the countries that are screwing us. They've invested all of their money into those other countries. So if then they have to start paying their fair share or equalize the tariff situation, now they're going to lose their money and they don't want that, you know? And it's like, you should be backing America, not another country.
Right.
And if you want to, that's fine, but move there, become a citizen of that country.
Yeah. Go help them out.
Yeah. Stop being here and taking all the benefits and then screwing the rest of us.
I totally agree with that. And it's funny to watch all of these Democrats back China pretty much, or just, backing China. And the stock market, when Trump, talked about tariffs and everything, the stock market really dipped and dropped. Stock market is back up now, and they're not saying anything about that. It's completely a one-sided, a one-trick pony is what it looks like. I'm curious to see how this ends up with China. What are the alternatives? There has to be alternatives. We can't just be reliant on China. And one of the things they were asking Trump about, this was the silliest thing. This was ABC News, and they were asking Trump about, okay, so it was something about kids buying dolls. So instead of buying 30 dolls, we're only going to be able to buy 3 dolls for our kids. I was like, I don't really think that is something that is, too bad. You can make a doll inside of the USA, but yeah, if that's the big argument that we're children, you're gonna hurt the children. They're not gonna have $30. They don't need $30.
No. And if you remember, I don't know, are you old enough to remember when Walmart when they first started business, and they branded their company on American made? You could go to Walmart and find made in America, right? And now it's like you would be hard pressed to find anything made in America at Walmart. And not only that, you're hard pressed to find anything made in America, period. Unless you know somebody personally who has a specific skill. Good luck. Let's bring that all back. Let's become self-sufficient again. We were a great country at one time. We were fantastic.
At one time in the world. Whoops. Where'd you go? There you go. Yeah. And we can get back there, right? I think farmers markets and things like that, and the fact that people can now buy stuff directly from, I wouldn't buy anything on Facebook, but you can. There's a Facebook market. There's places that you can sell your product directly to now. Well, but I would like to see it. How do you make it easier for these local smaller companies to get into their local Walmart or get into their local Target? How do they find some way to incentivize these big companies to do something like that?
They need to stop micromanaging. And that is where I see the problem with the Democratic Party. They micromanage. And, because even now, I was just listening because I love farmers markets. I love to go to the flea market and stuff like that. It's always a really big thing everywhere. Most towns, I don't know about the bigger cities, but most smaller towns and smaller cities have farmers markets. Well, I was just reading up and I can't remember where it was now. But they were showing how there was nobody there, no vendors, no customers. And they said the reason for that now is, whereas before I could make jelly, jam, pickles, whatever in my own kitchen, go to the farmer's market and sell it, right? And now they've made laws that if you don't have a licensed kitchen that's separate from your home and it's inspected by the government, then you no longer can sell at a flea market. Wow. It is insanity. I mean, they have destroyed the base, the foundation of what America is or was at one point, and that was self-sufficiency. Taking, like, if I had extra and I could go sell some to my neighbor, if they had, we could barter. It's almost like they're even gonna, and not saying that they are, I said it feels like it's heading that direction, that even bartering will no longer be allowed, because by law, somebody's going to come in and go, you can't do that. We have to make sure. And it's just so annoying. It's not, America's not the same anymore. I don't like America right now.
Too many regulations, and it only takes one bad apple, one person. It could be sabotage too, to make, to sell something bad and say, see, this is why we need the regulations. You're going to hurt our children. They're killing our children. Think about the children, please.
Oh, I know. Just like the stupid measles garbage. I don't know. That's off topic, but I just, I remember even the Brady Bunch did a TV show on this, right? Because when we were kids, I remember, I think I must have been like 10 or 11 or something, but one of the kids in the neighborhood got measles. Yeah. And it truly was. The parents would call up and go, hey, Johnny's got measles. We all went to Johnny's house and we all had a big party because they wanted all the kids to get it. You then your body gets immune naturally. Mm-hmm. And nobody died from measles, right? We didn't have to. And now all of a sudden then when they came up with the vaccine, all of a sudden it's like, and I'm not saying I've had the measles vaccine, so I'm not, that when I was younger, I'm not trying to do for against or anything. I'm just saying you go from doing natural immunity and letting nature take care of itself to now all of a sudden, again, government controlling. Let's micromanage every aspect of every American's life. And, and then taking away our choices. And I see Trump and Kennedy as trying to bring back our choices, giving us the right. Can we choose healthy? Can we, choose American? And right now we don't even have that.
Yeah. You mentioned measles too, and how I remember our parents did the same thing with chicken pox.
Yes, chicken.
And
yes.
so, when somebody got chicken pox, everybody's gonna get it, and they wanted us to get it young because we're stronger, right? Our system is stronger.
Well, and especially for boys, because boys, if they get it older in life, it tends to cause sterility. Oh. So you get it, like if you have a young kid and some kids got chicken, get them over there. I mean, when my kids had chicken pox, they both had it at the same time, same thing. I was like, hey, my kids, they got it. Anybody want to come on over? And we would throw little parties.
Right.
And again, nobody died from the freaking chicken pox. Yes, is it annoying and they get scratchy things and you have to stay up a couple of nights, but then it's over.
Right.
They don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole measles thing, they made it out to be a big, huge thing. And I think once Kennedy brought it up, and he's like, people die from measles, or they get measles every year, and then they had like 1 or 2 people die. 1 or 2 babies, I think, died in this small little Amish area or whatever. But they were acting like this thing was spreading out of nowhere. Everybody's gonna die, and Kennedy doesn't care. That was the mainstream media line there.
And we know that's not true.
Yeah,
I mean, he's got a big heart.
Yeah, no, he actually went there too. He went down there to go in and check on them and speak with them and everything. So yeah, Kennedy is a doer. He's not just someone who's just sitting up in his ivory tower in the White House just yapping it up. He's boots on the ground and putting a lot of interesting people in place, like Callie Means, and I think Callie Means' sister is going to take over. I forget what department, but he's putting a lot of people, a lot of that I've read their books. Dr. Mark McCary is head of the FDA now. Just a lot of interesting that you would never see these people in this spot here that all understand that we need to revamp the medical industry. I don't talk too much about that in my book. I don't know that much about it. It's one of the biggest struggles I have with the COVID book. It's because I just feel like I don't have enough information. It ends up being a lot of quotes. I don't want the whole book to just be quotes of everything. So I'm kind of struggling with that book, because that book should have been done. And then I wrote 2 other books in between that one. So you could tell I'm really struggling with that book. But
well, and that's the thing, though, with especially with COVID, unless, I mean, I'm disappointed in the medical industry. I was in the medical industry for almost like 15 to 20 years. I can't remember. I'm talking total. I worked at an EMT and an ER for 10 years, but and then, of course, you have to take all the classes. You go to school, all this other stupid stuff, biology, chemistry, AP, you do it all. And so you learn through this process how diseases are not only spread, but how do they mutate, what happens. And when a virus mutates, is it going to get more viral, or is it going to be just kind of die out? It can go maybe 3 ways. It doesn't do anything, stays the same, it gets weaker, it dies out, or it gets stronger and it just takes off like wildfire. And that's why at the very beginning, because everybody, from the moment it started, everybody's like, what do you think? It's all fake. It's all fake. And I'm like, we don't have enough information yet. Not saying you're not wrong, but we do not, because we don't, and when it started to first mutate, and again, when it started, it's so hard. Again, it just take class. Trust me. It's not as simple. It's fake. it's all just a big lie. It's this, it's that, because I knew a lot of people, and I talked to a lot of doctors and nurses and EMTs and other medical staff, and finding out their personal experience and what was going on. And not one of them were like, this is fake. This isn't what people think. It was like, oh my God, I wish people understood, but they couldn't talk about it. But it was handled so wrong. It was just it was not handled correctly at all. And then all of the big fear about, I won't get into the so-called mask mandate. That just makes me laugh. But, a lot of it was out of control.
Yeah, the mask thing was very weird because first they were telling the WHO, the WHO, they were telling people not to wear masks. The Surgeon General was telling people not to wear masks. Even Fauci was telling people
it's not going to stop it. And that's what it's like. What I try to explain to people, it's like, take those surgical masks that people wear, and they think they're so safe with that on. I feel so much better. I'm not spreading nothing I can't take in. And I'm like, okay. And so I would try to do these diagrams like under a microscope, because it's a weave of fabric, right? It's whatever it's a weave, the fabric put together to sew together. And I'm like, let's put that under a microscope. And so the little weave is made up of, like, you have little squares throughout the weave. And say the square is this big under the microscope. Okay. That virus going through is going to be at the pin. Is that little weave, is that going to stop that virus? Oh, hell no. It's going through that fabric. You could wear 20 of them on your damn face, and it's not going to stop it. The virus will still get through the mask. And when I was working in the ER, especially at the ER, we would have to every year, like the N95, you want to stop a virus, you have to have specialized masks to do that. And nothing that they sell to the public is going to be that specialized mask. And unless you know how to fit that to your face, make sure that it's a good solid seal all the way around. Unless you know how to do this, take it off. It's not helping you. And with the N95s, that they were selling at the store, everybody's like, oh, I got my N95. And I'm like, no, you don't. Because we had to be specially fitted. Every year or two, we had to go in and make sure that our masks still fit. Okay. Because your face, you gain weight, you lose weight, your face changes, your body changes, depending on how old you are. Things still fluctuate. So we had to constantly go in and get it refitted to our face. Because if you don't have that solid seal, it's a complete waste of time. You might as well take it off and just go breathe everything in.
Interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah, I had bought one of those N95 masks, and I had to take a flight somewhere, and it was crazy. They made me take it off. So you can't fly with that. You can't fly with that. And they gave me this little tiny paper mask, a little thing, a surgical mask or something like that. But that was okay to fly with. It was the weirdest thing. It was the weirdest time.
And I don't know why they would do that unless some certain masks can restrict airflow. It doesn't stop a virus, but if it will restrict airflow and you're at a higher level, a higher altitude, then you're at a higher risk for either altitude sickness or passing out or whatever the case may be. So maybe that's what I don't know. That would be my best guess. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the masks were an absolute joke. They did nothing for anybody, but now what did they do? They absolutely destroyed the environment. They're all over in the oceans. They're all over landfills. They're all over the ground. They're everywhere. And yet to this day, and the hospital and medical people know this. That is what was really so frustrating. It's like, you guys know better. I would walk into a hospital and they're like, where's your mask? I'm like, you guys know better. You work here, you know better. Yeah. And I'm just like, and then at the time the law was written here so that I didn't have to. And so I'd walk in and they're like, and they would send security, right? Security. You need to put that on. I'm like, no, I don't. Actually, no, I don't. And so I would flip up the law. I'm like, here it is. Look at the law. do you know the governor here went in and changed that law? I think too many people figured it out, so he went in and rewrote it so that we no longer have the law. I mean, but thank goodness we don't have to worry about it. But I'm just like, what a wiener. What a wiener of a governor.
Wasn't it weird how they had all these regulations, all this stuff, and then all of a sudden it was just like, it just all kind of stopped. Everything just kind of died out. It's like almost like you said, like they kind of figured it out, and it's like, okay, this isn't as bad as we thought.
I think what they figured out was that people finally stopped complying.
Interesting.
And then they're like, well, okay, we've lost it. We can't give away any more hamburgers or French fries.
French fries, freedom fries.
So, well, we might as well just stop now, because I mean, and here it was really interesting because when I first moved here, everybody was wearing masks. And then one day I told my granddaughter, I said, because she would like, come on, CG, please, because she didn't want to get yelled at every time I go somewhere. I was always in a debate with people. And so when I'd go out with her, she goes, please, I don't want to get into a fight with anybody anymore. So then one day we're getting ready to go in the store, and I told her, I said, you know what? Suck it up. We're not doing this anymore. I'm done. We're not wearing a freaking mask anymore. And I said, you take that thing off your face. So she took it off, and she's walking behind me. But then I noticed, like, within a couple of weeks, because I wasn't the only one. We go in the store, there are like 2 or 3 other people. And I told my granddaughter, I go, see, we're not the only ones. Mm-hmm. And then within like 3 weeks, half the people had stopped wearing masks. And then it wasn't longer after that, then all of a sudden they, it came down like, okay, the restrictions are now off. And it's like, oh, geez. Please just stop.
Well, I know you're writing the foreword for my book, COVID-19, The Invisible Enemy. I wanted to call it the China virus, but I felt that maybe, I don't know. I'm still open to it, but I asked a bunch of people, like, whatever you don't call it that. Don't call it. But
I think it's a great title, but I don't think it would go far.
It may not make it to the global distribution. Yeah. People in China may not like. Not
you
that
have to go China.
Yeah. There's always a way to get around it. But yeah, but I'm curious to see what you're going to write for the forward. It can be as long as you like. The longer, the better. I would love it. Just make it whatever you want. And I'd love to see some of those stories in there, because it was a crazy time. And for me, it was one of those times where, I did wear the mask. I did wear the mask because I needed to go into the grocery store to get food for my family. And I did that. And I take full responsibility for that. I don't regret it at all. I would do it again if I had to, if there's no alternatives to it. But still, instead of going to the store buying, a little bit of food, we stocked up. So I only had to go, every couple months, but still, I still did it. And I'm a homebody, so it didn't affect me too much. Right. It didn't affect my Friday night, Saturday night plans or anything like that. It just kind of, made me rethink my priorities. I really hated the church because the churches were closed and everything like that. And anywhere that I could go that didn't involve food that wanted to wear a mask, I just wouldn't go. I just wouldn't go. I'm not going to pay for that. For food, yes, I did do that, but that was it. Travel came later because I had moved out of state, and I had to travel back into California for family things and for work and stuff too. But I was not happy about it, and I knew that it was wrong. I knew that we shouldn't be doing this, and so that's another thing that I really like. I like how Trump came out with a couple weeks ago. If you look up the White House and look up lab leak, you'll see a whole thing that just really covers all the stuff that people have been talking about of why they got it wrong, why Fauci got it wrong, why Biden got it wrong. They want to blame Trump. But remember, this was already happening. This, by like March, by April, Trump was already saying we need to get back to business, April of 2020. And then in early 2021, he's gone and spent most of November of 2020, spent most of that fighting the voter fraud, and then J6 and all of that. So he was really preoccupied with a lot of stuff. But again, it was like anything that Trump said that they should do, they didn't. When Trump said lock everything up, the Democrats wanted to go out and have parties on the streets and everything. So maybe he saved some lives by these anti-Trumpers actually getting out there and doing all this stuff because he told them not to. He may have saved some of their lives while we saw what happened. And it's not just Trump's fault. He was the leader of the country. He has to take responsibility for his part there.
But as the leader, he stood in front of that camera and he told everyone, you need to be peaceful. Go home, be peaceful.
Right.
That, that is a leader. That is someone who stands up and says, hey, none of this rioting garbage. Go in peace. You can speak your mind. You can disagree with what happened, but do it peacefully. Now, when you have an opposition who then entices riotous behavior, that does not reflect on a leader. That reflects on the group that started it. And that's the problem. They have been so successful in shoveling the blame toward Trump. Right. And it's taking the focus off of what they did and then trying to put in a mirror, say, no, it's all him. It's all him. When in reality, he was the only one who was standing up there going, you better be peaceful. We all disagree with this, but and then we have video proof, we won't get into it now, but there's video proof of what happened. And it's like, geez, people stop.
Yeah. I mean, if people didn't know, when Liz Cheney was leading the fight against Trump for the J6 thing, that should have been a big red flag to so many people. Liz Cheney, the daughter of Dick Cheney. I mean, come on.
Well, and here's the thing. I think I said this before, but a long time ago, when I was married to a guy who was in the military, my doctor, who was handling a certain situation, my health situation, and he's actually the nephew of Dick Cheney.
Really?
And I remember him, I'm like going, isn't that really cool? And he's like, no. He was, I won't say what he said about his uncle, but he was not excited to be related to Dick Cheney. And at that time, I thought it was kind of weird. I'm like, is he just kind of jealous because, his uncle's kind of high up in the government?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Now I realize he was right all along.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. You may have told me that. You may have told me that before. That is fascinating. Cheney, they never talk about it anymore, but obviously he shot somebody in the face while hunting. A guy who has been duck hunting for a long, long time. A lawyer. He shot a lawyer. So many strange things were happening back then. Between 2001, which really felt like 2021. It was 20 years later. It's like there was another voter fraud. I always thought Al Gore got screwed in 2000. And who knows what would have happened if Al Gore was the president when those towers came down.
Oh, and I think that was one of the very first times when it was blatantly evident that voter manipulation and voter fraud had occurred, because he truly did win. He won, but they gave it to Bush.
Yeah.
And it was like, whoa, hold on a second there. And, how he talked about it. He's like, I want recounts. This is voter fraud. Hillary Clinton, I want recounts. This is voter fraud. Trump, I want recounts. This is voter fraud. Okay, now let's sue Trump. And he's just a big jerk because he's making a lot.
Right.
Yeah. It's like, oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
No, but yeah,
I think that's the difference, is how Gore fought it. I vividly remember we were all in for Gore. Mm-hmm. And then when he caved to the Florida thing, the next day they show Al Gore. There's a photo of Al Gore celebrating, having a big party, and he's smiling and happy. And I'm like, you just got screwed. Like, so to me, it was like, okay, Gore, and then the whole global warming thing, you could tell Gore was just another puppet. I didn't know it at that time. So if you compare the way that Gore reacted to 2000, to losing in 2000 after months of fighting it, saying he's going to fight until the end, and you compare how Trump reacted by jumping right back in it and has still never said that Biden won. He still thinks he's 46 probably, and he'd love to be 48 I'm sure in 2028. But that was fascinating to me, just the difference.
And I remember the global warming thing goes way back. Again, like when I was in high school, I remember talking to them about.
Oh, really?
That. Oh yeah, this is nothing new.
Okay.
We've been on the brink of extinction since. But the whole thing about
Gore was just late to the party, is what you're saying.
Yes, and the whole thing about the polar caps are going to melt and we're going, the seas are going to rise, and it's like, oh my God, did any of these people take a chemistry class? Did you take any class in science? Okay, for example, let's pretend these ice cubes are the polar caps, right? Right. And the way they say it is that when this melts, it's all going to overflow and we're going to be drowning in water. And it's like, no, the polar caps are displacing the liquid beneath it, right? So it's pushing that water aside and rising it up. As the ice cubes melt, they then take up that displaced space and it fills it in. So the line never frickin' moves. We're not going to have raised seas. We're not going to have anything. As these things melt, the melted water takes up the space where the ice used to be underneath. And it's like, oh my God. But you can't tell people this. You try to tell them, think about what they're saying to you. Be logical about this. And they can't. They like have lost the ability to think logically.
And what was their answer to it? How could we fix it with more regulation? Just like how you were talking about more regulation and
weather control.
Weather control.
They were talking about weather control way back when. I mean, that's nothing new either, except they did call it weather control. Nowadays, I think they denied it for a long time. And I think now they're back into talking about it. But, again, geez, you should have been alive in the 70s because that's
I would have loved it.
They were not afraid to talk about things back then, but they talked about cloud seeding and all this other stuff and how they were going to control the weather because so these drought-stricken areas can get rain. And a lot of us students back then who thought were like, but doesn't that take water from somewhere else? I mean, you're going to hurt one area to help another if you're doing that. Oh, no, it'll be great. It'll be great.
It'll be awesome.
Oh, look at us. It's awesome. A mess.
Yeah, I'm always late to the party. So I was born in 1979. So as soon as
just missed
it. Once again, so close. I was right there. 10 years before I would have been a whole new story. But some of the best music I found came out of the 70s. Really interesting period, the 70s compared to the 60s and the 50s, and then of course I'm a 80s boy, obviously, and look back on it now. It's like 80s are just weird. It's a metrosexual weird place to be. I didn't know anything about that. I grew up. I grew up with like Boy George. I didn't realize there was anything wrong with him, or I didn't realize he was any different. It's just, he was cool. I loved his music.
And see, and that's the thing. It's like when, I was born in the 60s, early 60s. So by the time the 70s come around, right? I remember everybody. Do you know who Little Richard is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Back then, especially in like early to mid 70s, everybody loved Little Richard and his music. I mean, don't get me wrong. He was popular.
Yeah.
But he was known as the funny boy, right? I mean, because society had no problem calling that out. It's like, you're a dude, you're acting and looking too much like a female, and so we call you a funny boy. Right. So when Boy George came on the scene, our generation was like, Oh, we got ourselves a real funny boy here. But I love Boy George's music. I mean, again, don't get me wrong. I liked his music. But and today, if you were to call somebody, I mean, Liberace, Little Richard, I mean, they were very flamboyant. And then, of course, you have
Like Elton John.
Thank you. That's what I couldn't think of. Elton John, very flamboyant. And it's not that people cared about their choice and their lifestyle. People would laugh at how peacocky they were, right? They were like big peacocks being something they weren't. I don't know what else to call them, but it was just such a different time where honesty, I think, even though they discouraged it, it still was spoken. And then as you watch as time goes on, and now if you try to speak about something honest, they like shut you down right away. You can't talk like that.
Right. It's a whole new world now.
Yeah. Sorry, we're way off topic.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. I'm going to play this little clip here talking about the Hollywood tariffs. And it never really occurred to me that the tariffs would affect Hollywood, and how does it affect Hollywood, for the better, for the worse? So here is the guy. If I was able to put a third guy in the Kennedy and Trump Kennedy book, it would be this guy, Kirk Cameron. So I'm going to play a little bit of this. We'll be right back.
This absolutely struck me when we were digging into the background of just how far Hollywood has fallen and the production numbers have dropped. From January to March 2025, Hollywood film production fell significantly, with just 451 shoot days for features in the region, a roughly 30% drop compared to the first quarter of 2024. So does President Trump have a point here on enacting tariffs to, as he said, make Hollywood great again?
Well, I sure see Hollywood become great again. And his comment that Hollywood is dying is not only applying the financial revenues, but it's also referring to the content. At least in my mind, Hollywood used to be wonderful. Hollywood used to be good. Hollywood used to contribute to the moral fabric of our nation. And many of their profits have now plummeted because people aren't even showing up at the movies to see the ones that they make. So I think that Trump thinks so far out of the box compared to so many of the rest of us. And making more movies here in America, I think, is a great idea. And if ever we were to make a move like this with artificial intelligence and computer-generated imagery, you really don't have to go anywhere to make movies that take place in Rome or Dubai or Germany or anywhere like that. We've made lots of films here and television shows. This could impact.
Right there for a second. I know the music's probably a little annoying there, but the fact that you can make AI, I'm anti-AI. I do not like AI. I believe it is the work of the devil. But
I have fun creating pictures with AI.
Okay, pictures, all right, I could go with that. But they're making movies, they're making books. I bought 2 books because I, writing the Kennedy and Trump book, I was like, is there anything else out there? Is there anything else out there that's similar? I bought 2 books. I am convinced that they are AI generated books. Man, that bothered me.
And I'm against that 100,000%, because as you know, as a writer, it takes a lot of work to put that down onto paper and then have somebody just go and tell the computer, gather some data for me. And now, oh, look, I have a book.
Yeah, it was so bland. It was so bland. And when I finally realized it was when they got Kennedy's, there were 2 things that I realized, and I was like, okay, this is definitely AI. The first one was they only mentioned 2 children, and I was like, okay, pretty sure he's got like 6 children. Why are they only mentioning 2? So that's a little weird. Then they mentioned Kennedy. They said Kennedy was saddened by the death of his father, and then later by President Kennedy dying. So they didn't even get that right. That's when I knew, okay, either this person is really uninformed, and I don't believe they were, because it was written well. It was written, really nicely. There was just no content. There was no substance to it. It just felt like I was like, okay, maybe it's someone who's just writing this as a thesis for a high school thesis or something like that. But it's like, no, they got way too many things wrong. Luckily, Prime was able, they just refunded me. So I still have those books. But man, that's the world we're living in. But how do you feel about, and this is kind of the George Lucas model, really, where George Lucas was able to make his Star Wars, and then they made another movie. I forget what it was, with I want to say Jude Law and a couple other people. Captain something was all in black and white, but it's all of them. It's just them behind a green screen or something like that. But with AI, this is reaching a whole new level. You can make a whole movie with AI. I mean, that's a little bit scary. And with the clips that I've seen, there's two things you can tell. Watch the teeth. The teeth always look funky, and watch the fingers. They always look off. Those are the only ways that I've been able to really tell, watching videos or clips or something like that, that this is AI, complete AI.
Yeah, and that's really not fair. I mean, when they do that, it really takes away from everybody's ability to work. You've got the artists, the graphic artists, the actors. Everyone now is out of a job, and then you have these lazy directors or producers or whatever, like going, "Oh yeah, look at us, we're raking it all in," and it's like, but you know, well.
Can
I
it
think
be used
AI,
for good?
I'm sorry?
Can it be used for good? Can it be
I think
if in the right way?
Well, I think so, but knowing humans the way I do after all these years, that'll never be allowed to happen. People are, the world is full of too many selfish people, too many people who are greedy, too many people who are liars, too many people who steal from another. And AI is just another easy way to get that done. And so, you know, like I said, I use it to create like AI photos and just cute little composites. And it's just fun stuff that I do. But would I take that and, okay, I need to watch this. Because would I use it? I now am in a position where I have to recreate a book cover for my book, because the person I hired and paid took the money and ran, and not somebody I thought that would do that. So, somebody I trusted, and it was a huge mistake to trust this person. Well, lesson learned, and it's too bad. But this is what I'm saying. So now it's like in recreating the cover of the book, the pictures I'm looking at, I think partly where AI was used to generate a portion of this photo. So, you know, would I use it? Yeah. Do I think it should be the end all be all? Not at all. And I don't think AI should ever be used for writing. You know, I don't think anybody should be allowed to take something composed by an AI and then publish it as their work. No, I don't think that should be allowed at all.
Well, speaking of your book, I was going to ask you about your book to see how that was coming.
Oh, you have no idea the wrench they threw into that one when they pulled that. Yeah, because it should have been released in June. Is when it was supposed to be released. And now that I have to go through, you know, because going through the entire process of finding help, there are a couple of people who have reached out and offered to help. So I'm very grateful to both of them who did that. And but I mean, I'm not without talent. I mean, I've done this stuff before. I've had my artwork on display in a museum. I mean, I'm not a great artist. Okay, I'm not saying anything like that, but I'm good enough that they put it on display.
Nice.
You know, in a museum. So I mean, I can do it, but it's like I hired because I knew it. And as you know, it's stressful as you get closer and closer. There's so many things you have to do that it's like, if you can get another piece done, then by all means, you're going to pay somebody to get that done. And that was just like, okay, here we go. But yeah, but
have you
go ahead. No,
I was going to say, have you looked at Fiverr? for
Um,
hiring?
Yeah, Fiverr. Yeah. I actually use a couple of people off of Fiverr to do some of my editing.
Yeah, I did.
But
Yeah.
I also hired outside from a professional
Uh,
editor who did the big massive editorial assessment of the novel, and then I have my line editor and then developmental editor off of Fiverr, and she has been fabulous. Oh my gosh, I mean those two have been completely fabulous.
that's cool.
But like I said, the one who screwed me was the person I knew and had known for years. Well, and they took the money and ran, and that is the biggest disappointment. It's like, if they couldn't do it, or but here's the thing: is they had almost all of it done. The only thing we needed to do was put the blurb on the back and then put the ISBN number on it. That's all that needed to be completed, and nothing. So I'm like, okay, I can't wait anymore. I've waited almost over 3 weeks for them to get back to me. I can't wait anymore. I've got to get this done. So that, and
Well, couldn't you take that to Fiverr and say, hey, I just need somebody to just add this blurb and add this ISBN? That's what I did when I had to redo.
Because I don't have the working file. I have a picture.
Oh, gotcha.
That's it.
Gotcha.
And I mean, and again, it could have been something as simple as, hey, I don't have time. I can't do this. Here's the working file. You just go have fun. You figure it out. I would have figured it out. It would have been fine. But now it's like, fine, you push my buttons, buddy. So now I have a better cover coming.
Good.
So, but again, part of the cover that, and I'm creating it. Because I think I've learned my lesson, and
Got to do it yourself. You want something done right? Do it yourself.
Well, it's like, I hate being, I'm so sick and tired of being screwed over by people. It's like you trust people and you give them the benefit of the doubt. And I should have known by now, and at my age, just screw it. Don't take that. But I don't want to be that bitter person all the time.
All right.
So, but yeah, I mean, but here's the problem: is the picture, the cover that I'm working on, it's going to require an AI image, or the use of part of an AI image. So you're asking, would I use it? Yeah, I think I'm going to use it because it's such a good picture. And it fits. It totally fits the story. So
AI photos, okay. AI books, AI film scripts, AI movies, not so much.
Yeah. And the whole thing is if you look at the progression, because first you start off way back when, they're just taking videos of what's happening along, and then they start adding in special, like bombs exploding or things, whatever. And then comes CGI. CGI was huge when it was first introduced. It's like, whoa, look at that. That is so cool. Well, from CGI, now we're to AI. It's just a gradual progression. But to have AI completely take over and do everything from the acting positions to everything else, no. If if they're just using it to increase the quality of a CGI, yeah, sure, that would, in my opinion, that would be great. But no, I don't like these robots. They're so fake. The CGI, they don't move right. Their faces don't move right. And I like their expressions. That's what makes the actors so great, is their ability to show on their face and their body what the script is telling them, how they're interpreting that script to be. An AI can't do that.
Can't do it. No, can never be like the real thing, I think. Well, I think we're coming up to the end. There's probably one more clip. There's a few. I missed a lot of clips just because I've been out of it for a little while. That may be the best place to just kind of end this one here. What's the name of your book?
Oh, thank you, Greg, for doing this. I really appreciate you. The title is Root of All Evil. It's a horror novel with a romance subplot. And it's about a young couple and their struggle in trying to survive in present day Chicago, because his job and her job, as they can't make ends meet, as we all can relate to these days, right? It takes three or four incomes to survive anymore. And how a demon chases them. And then a battle ensues over their child. I know I'm not saying this very well, and when I get closer, maybe you allow me to read the blurb on one of your on one of your videos. But right now, on the Facebook page I have for the book Root of All Evil, I have just a small snippet, and what I've posted so far, so the only thing I've posted from the book is the little snippet is, "To all the demons who have tried to destroy me, may you burn in hell." So that's part of the book.
Very cool. And
maybe that'll help you understand.
the main character, can you give the names of the main character?
Yeah, the protagonist her name is Levy and her husband is Ian. And those two, it's really more her. She's more of the lead protagonist, but that's the FMC, and then the MMC would be her husband, Ian. And then the antagonist is the demon Incubus. So.
Incubus, that's an interesting name. How'd you come up with that name?
Oh, you don't know what an incubus is? Oh, you're in for an incubus is a true demon. It's one of the rulers of hell.
Oh, wow.
And Incubus's goal in my book is he wants to take over Asmodeus's reign as the ruler of the second circle of hell. So he is prophesied an heir to get that. So this is really in my book. Okay.
So he's like second to the devil, to Lucifer, or Satan.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Satan, Lucifer, and Lucifer is pretty much the head honcho of all in mythology. If you're going to it, or if you're going with Christian beliefs, Lucifer is the ruler of the entire realm of hell. And then hell then has other sub layers, and each one of those is then ruled by another demon. But Lucifer then has been the highest of them all. And in my book, an incubus is the one demon who can morph. He becomes a succubus, the female version, incubus, the male version. And so he can be both on what, and then it's all based on sex and debauchery. So you could kind of get where the romance subplot is going in the book. Second book is really going to be where all the debauchery takes place, but some of it does happen in the first book. But yeah, it's just, his goal is he wants to overthrow Asmodeus and then become ruler of the second circle of hell, and then what he has to go through. So as antagonist, he then gets into this battle with the protagonist and her husband to who's going to gain control of the child. So
interesting. Sounds, and then you mentioned second one. How far along are you in the second book?
Oh, the second book is written. I'm almost done with the third book, but with the second book, I have to go through the editing process.
Okay.
It just takes so much time to get all that done. And so I've been focusing so much on getting this one done. But as soon as this one's published, then that one I'll hit hard with the editing. So hopefully I can get that one out sooner. I don't want to wait a year. I want to have it done with published within 6 months. Is the goal.
So the first book is called Root of All Evil.
Mm-hmm. Root of All Evil.
And how many pages?
Right now, it's in like a Word doc, and so I haven't put it into formatted within a book yet, but in a Word doc, it's sitting at 325 pages to 330 pages. And
at what font? 10 point? 12
no, 12 point. It's it's Times New Roman because, old school, do everything in Times New Roman at 12
Right.
point, and so stuff like that. So that's what, and then the basic 1-inch margins type thing. So it may be longer in, when it gets put into a book format. I don't know. I have yet to actually format a book. I've never done that before. But yeah, it's over it. And for word count, it's over 90,000 words, well over 90,000 words. So
How many chapters would you say? Do you number chapters or just name them?
I do number them. I'm trying to think because I'm writing 2 other books right now. So I'm trying to remember. I can't.
I'm putting you on the spot here.
I know it's like maybe 50 something chapters, but some of the chapters are longer. And I know some people don't like longer chapters. They really want them short, but that was me. I wrote this book before I realized that people prefer short chapters. So in the second book, there are a lot more chapters, but they're a lot shorter. So
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that looks good. I'm really looking forward to it. So you think maybe around the publication day? What do you think?
I'm pushing for late July, first week of August at the latest. I got to get it out. I want it out so people can have it by Halloween. So
Okay.
they can pick up their new horror novel by Halloween.
Always good to have. Perfect timing right there. I think. Well, that sounds good. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I'll definitely check it. I'll definitely read it, and definitely we'll have you on separately, just on a different show to talk about that. It's always nice. And local authors, real authors. It's always nice to talk to them because the process is just so crazy. And I feel like, talking to authors like you and you editing my book has taught me so much that I would never learn by just continuing on the way I've been continuing on with it.
Well, and that's the thing, you learn with the people that you interact with. Like with mine, I don't know how many times I went through edit after edit, and people would say, why are you starting it there? I need more of this backstory. I add the backstory, and I'm like, well, now it doesn't feel right, and now it feels clunky. And so when I finally sent it to the assessment editor, she's like, get rid of this, either cut it completely out or you I loved her tenacity. I mean, she didn't pull any punches, and that's what I like. I want somebody who's going to be, this is what's wrong with it, take that out because that shouldn't be there, and blah blah. And she was so straightforward, and I'm like, thank you. And when I redid it the way I had done it in the very beginning, if you could compare what I did at the beginning to what she said later, and I just stuck with it.
You were on the right path.
I was on the right track at the beginning, but it's just so much better. But I couldn't edit it because I was too close to it. So when I read what I wrote, I'm reading what's in my head and everything that I've built in there. I'm not seeing what's on the paper. And so she came in and she's like, okay, I kind of see what you're doing here, but I also know, so fix this, get rid of this, maybe think about adding this. This is great. But the good thing was, she's like, I love your character arcs. Your character arcs are perfect. You did everything you needed to do. And so with yours, it's like, you need somebody to edit it for you, somebody who's outside of your mindset, who's not, in it 24/7. And it's just, writing is hard. And my very first book was published back in 2000 or 2001. And then I didn't do anything. Life got real crazy. And, but that one was traditionally published. So this is a whole new experience to have to go in, 20 something years later, and then have to do it all by yourself. All I had to do was write and edit the first one. And I left it to they all took care of everything else. And I'm just like, okay, this isn't so bad. And now this one, I'm like, oh my God, Greg, how do you do this? I mean, how many books have you put out?
Well, I've put out technically 3, I guess.
Where are you? I don't see you.
Oh, yeah, I've technically put out 3. I would like to say that this is my 3rd book. That's what I really like to say. And then, of course, I got 3 just sitting there, just kind of waiting to be finished.
Okay, the Crowley book and 911, and then this one, right?
Yeah, those are the three that I would consider, my real books, I guess.
Yeah.
Everything else was just doing it for fun or just for pamphlets.
Well, and I can tell you that the more you write, and that's the thing with writing, for all of you out there who want to write, do it, but you have to write every day. Write. And I've watched Greg's progression. I've read all three of his books. And I'm telling you, Greg, you have really matured as a writer compared to your first book to where this Kennedy book is, and now what's going on with your next book that you're having me look at. I mean, you are really coming into your own as a writer. And I'm telling you, people, you need to get his books. They're very good.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. And especially with the one that I just sent you the other day, that one.
Where are you? Again, you have to. Where are you, Greg?
I'm trying to wait for people to move out of the background.
Oh, okay.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, there we go.
So, yeah, thank you for that. I think I learned a lot from the writing the David Crowley book. That was and I wish I would have had you as my actual editor then. I know I will for the sequel. Mm-hmm. And I hope that we can figure that out with what is Sophia does she want her chapters? Do you want your chapters involved in it? I hope you both do. I hope you both still want to have them.
I don't know. You and
I'll have to ask her about that.
But yeah, definitely.
They're all great chapters. I know you weren't able to. She didn't want you to see. She wanted you to read the chapters, but I really
he's published.
Yeah, but I really feel like I want you to edit the whole book, meaning you'll have to read everything. You'll have to go through all of the chapters in the book before it's actually published. So that's one of the things I'll have to ask her about. But this one was a lot of fun. It's not as dark. People don't like some people don't like politics and everything. I don't like politics. Whether you believe me or not, I got Kennedy shirt on. I got Trump right here in the background. I really don't like politics.
But I don't see your Kennedy book as yes, it has politics in it, but I don't see it strictly as political. There's a lot of information there. I think it's like background information, and it's stuff that you pull and you put together in a way that it's like, how did I not know that? You put stuff in other situations. We've all lived through it, right? We've all been through that. And I'm just like, I didn't know that.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. You can
I'm
do
trying.
Protect your baby. I got you. Protect your baby.
I tried to, but hold on.
And so that's what I'm saying. It's like, it's a type of book that I think if you're really into politics, or even if you're just like a novice or you just really don't care, it will gain the attention and hold the attention of just about anybody. Your reader base is going to be quite broad.
Yeah, I sure hope so. I know it's like, some people, I mean, at the time when I started the book, I knew it was a lot of people who liked Kennedy, didn't like Trump. A lot of people who liked Trump didn't like him. And then I didn't expect what would happen. As I'm writing it, they joined forces, which was one of the greatest things. I was dealing with it in a hypothetical. Wouldn't it be awesome if Kennedy was Trump's vice president? Then there was the realization I had to deal with. That's never going to happen. They're on two completely separate things. Then Kennedy leaves the Democratic Party. It's like, oh, cool. This is a great chance. And then so many things happened during that period. I thought it was a lot of fun to just try to document it. Not only for us that live through it here, but for the future generations to come. I believe this is a very different time. It's a very special moment in our American history, and I don't want it to be watered down. I don't want people to get lost in it. If you were to go and look up, if you just do a Google search on RFK Jr. or on Trump, it's mostly going to be negative stuff. Mm-hmm. It's mostly just going to be a lot of things. Trump or Kennedy is very anti-vax, even though he put in one of his books, one of the first things he put is, I'm not anti-vax. It doesn't matter. You put that back a long time ago, and it does not matter. Trump can say, all of the things that he's done, all of his accomplishments. To some people, it does not matter, but I just felt it was fun to look at the journey between those two men to get back to the White House. They've both been wronged. This government and the shadow government, the New World Order, they both wronged these guys, and their families have killed their family members and tried to kill them, tried to take them out too. So it wasn't really part of the NWO book, but you'll notice, because you've already read some, you've already helped me edit, I think, the very last chapter. You'll probably notice you've already edited.
Well, I've already started editing what you sent me, just so you know. I have started.
Yeah, once you see that, you'll be like, wait a minute, I think I edited this about a month ago or a couple weeks ago or something like that. So I was like, I was going to start a second Kennedy and Trump book, that has actually turned into the final chapter of this NWO book, because I didn't know where to finish this thing off. And I don't want to wait two years I don't want to have that thought of another Kennedy and Trump book for another 2 years. I can't do it right now. I just can't. I want to, I love the way that story ended, and I want to keep it like that. I'm still writing, like you said, write every day, but I love to do handwriting. You know, I write in this.
I know you do that. I don't know how you do that.
I love it. My
hand would cramp so bad.
Yeah, and then I just, I just find it easier. Just do handwriting and then type it out. And it's almost like, okay, you've technically written your second draft here, because
Correct.
First draft, handwritten, second draft, and then give it to Catherine. She'll make it better. And then come back, you'll write another one and just keep working on it. But you've saved me so much time too, and so much effort, and have made the book so much better. So thank you so much for all that.
You're so sweet.
I really appreciate it.
And one thing I want to say, and so other people, maybe they'll understand the importance of getting a book like yours, is because it's there and it's now in black and white, and you are putting history as it's written. And I've mentioned this before. It's been a while though, but I remember when my granddaughter was staying with me, and she was getting ready to graduate. So she's taking all of her classes, and they were still online at the time. And it came to her history part, and things like the Iran-Contra, things with Nixon, Watergate, and other things. Okay, I lived through those eras. Okay. I remember them very well. And she was like going, CG, what's the answer? Here's the question. She goes, I don't get it, because none of these make sense. And so she'd read to me, and I'm like, none of those? This is what happened. It's like, but that's not a choice. And I go, okay, go back and read, and maybe you're just not understanding the question. And throughout even the lesson, it was not teaching what actually happened. Like the 60s and 70s were totally screwed up. A lot of, and I'm like, how are these young people who are going through high school right now and learning so-called history, how are they going to know? How are they going to know that what they're being taught is an absolute lie? They can't. They're going to learn this and then go on through life thinking that they learned American history. And it's like, no, you learned a lie that somebody put in a textbook, and now they're teaching you, because we lived through that. And I'll tell you, that's not what happened. And so, so with your book, I see that as I don't want to call it I don't know, an encyclopedia type of thing, where you can go back and
Yes.
double check. And later on down the road, 20 years, 25 years down the road, I will guarantee you that they're going to misconstrue even worse what's happened now, but you've put it in there. You've made it a record of the actual history of it. And so I think that's a good thing.
Well, thank you for that. And that's one of the things that I used to, and I learned my lesson. It's like, but I really wanted it to be, I would tell people, I want to write it like a textbook. And
Yes.
That's what I thought, is a textbook. But at the same time, you don't want to make it boring either. You don't want to just be just 100%, quotes and everything and all that. at the same time, I don't want it to just be me talking about it and just like, okay, who cares about this person's view on what he says? So it was very difficult. And I find that with all of my books, with the David Crowley book, with the 9/11 book, with all of these books, it's hard to balance that because I want it to be like you're watching a video, but you can't because it's a book. So I want to have those quotes. I want to have it. You have the source right here. This is what this person said, not me saying what the person said. Then I have to go and I have to research it. And I find 5 different sources of them saying a different thing. Then I got to go find the video to make sure that that is actually what they've been saying. So that for me, looking at those things and learning from other cases and other things that I've looked at where it was so hard for me to go and find the actual source. I just want to hear, what did that person say? What did they say in their own words? Not my interpretation of what it was. And so I've learned that because I've been tricked by other books. I've been tricked by other people who have written things. Then you go and you research it and you find they didn't put in the proper context. And the context really matters. When you put in that proper context for what that person is saying and why they are saying it, you can still twist it. You can still twist it and you can interpret it differently. There's nothing wrong with that. But that was one of the challenges, was to keep my views out of it for so much. And with this book, it was so easy. It's just like, Kennedy said this, Trump said this. What did they both say about this topic? How do they feel about the border? How do they feel about voter fraud? It was fascinating to me when they asked Kennedy about voter fraud, and he's like, what about Gore? What about John Kerry? The Democrats both thought that. What about Clinton? Hillary Clinton was, she was all about that.
Yep.
There's this big double standard. And I think that was part of the reason why they wanted to get Kennedy out of there. I never thought that he would end up voting for President Trump. And I never thought that he would be put in charge of the Health and Human Services. This is a big deal. I mean, this is like, he is running the whole healthcare thing. Anything that happens now, we get to blame him. If he messes up, if he does something wrong, if he puts in the wrong person, if he is, gonna back out or not gonna do what he says he does, we can hold his feet to the fire, which is a great thing. And we're only 100 days in, a little bit more than 100 days in. And you can see all the people that Kennedy is putting into these places now. Whereas before it was just big pharma, whatever big pharma said we should put in, they would put them in. Now Kennedy is being sued. Trump is being sued. They're all being sued, but it's not going to go anywhere. We have always heard the government has unlimited funds. The FBI, if they want to find something, they will find it and they will come after you. And now they are reaping what they have sown for so many years. All of these dirty tactics are now coming back to them. The difference is, I'm hoping, is that you're going to see the best of the federal government. That's what I want to see in these 4 years. I don't want to see them, and I don't think anyone wants to see them just go after and just attack them, spread lies, do the same tactics against these evil people. No, but you call them out on it. Go ahead.
Right. No, I agree. And the thing that I really appreciate about your books is that, you list the source material. So it's like an archive. Your books are like an archive of history or historical events that took place at a certain time frame. So I think it's good. It's very good. I think a lot of people will appreciate you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And I hope so. I took a stab, and you'll find, I don't know how far you've gotten in the New World Order one, but the Kennedy chapter was something that has actually been, I've been kind of editing and kind of reviving and revising and going over for a long, long time. I almost got to the point where, that chapter alone, once you see it, it's like, it's about 80 pages or something. These are pretty long chapters here. So, but I was like, at some point, should I just make this its own thing? But I was able to figure out a way to kind of add all of this stuff into it. There was a voter fraud thing. And then of course, the final chapter is the Kennedy and Trump, where they are, you know, we're like right back into it. So it's almost like this book could be a good book, like a prequel to the Kennedy and Trump book. That's kind of how I see it.
Yeah. Well, and with yours, I don't really see your chapters as chapters. I see it like sections because you're
Yeah, there you
dealing
go.
with different topics, but yet you will show, you bring how how one then leads to the next. But each section is the length will differ depending on how much, you know, information you're gathering and covering. So if people go in think, you know, because I had no idea, it's like, come on, people, get your stupid focus back again, you know, because I think I had a chapter that was something like almost 20 pages long in the book. And it's like, cut that down. We divide this up. And I'm like, oh, you know, whereas before you could have a 40-page chapter and it was normal. And now if it's 5 pages, it's too much.
Too much. How do you like writing fiction compared to nonfiction?
I can, how do I do this? And that's what I was telling the editor. It's like there are my book in certain scenes, and you'll know, like the medical scenes, because, you know, there's a lot of truth that is surrounded with fiction. So there's a lot of the stories in there throughout the series, not just the first one, but throughout the series of the book, is that the different, so I can put truth in my fiction, but then change a lot of aspects or add a lot of aspects. So the truth is still there, but it's not truth. And that's what I really like about fiction, is that I can just make stuff up or embellish it. Or if it's a really sad situation, I can alter it so it's not so sad. You know, I like it. And I find it easier to express what's going on in my brain in a fiction than I tried to write like a memoir because I've had a hell of a life. I've been through a lot of shit. And I've had a lot of people say, hey, you know what, you should probably write this down. And when I try, I can't. I just can't. I can't get it down. It's like I can't write it. But I can write certain things in a story. So
Right.
it's much easier that way. It's cathartic.
It's cathartic. Yeah. Well, maybe AI can write the memoir for you. Just tell it what you want to write, and you know, it'll do it all. It may change a few things. You know, it may change the story, but
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you know, I don't. Have you ever heard of the trend on TikTok? It's run like a girl trend.
no,
Yeah, I guess it's been going. I always miss the trends. I'm not on top of things, but
I'm way behind.
it's based on a movie. It was a real life situation of a young girl who was kidnapped by a serial killer. She managed to escape and she ran until she found help. So, you know, when people say run like a girl, they're always like, oh, you do this like a girl, you throw like a girl, you run like a girl. They're always like, you know, this.
Yeah.
But the trend is that when you run like a girl, you're running for your freaking life. You are it's not no longer impish and weak. It shows strength. You have to show strength to get out of a bad situation or try to escape a bad situation. So it's really quite interesting. And how do you write that though? I mean, you see these young girls who write their stories, and I'm like, I don't know if I could do that. One of my run like a girl moments was a guy who used to think it was fun to whip a knife out and try to attack me with it. And he would be like, either you block my moves or I'm going to effing cut you.
Mm-hmm.
And so even with blocking the moves, he sliced my finger all the way down to the bone on this one. And and then one time when I'd finally had enough, I pushed him or threw him or something. I can't remember, because everything was such a blur. And when he hit the couch, the look on his face, and I knew, like, oh shit, I just did the wrong thing. And I had to run. That guy chased me until I locked myself into a room, and then he's pounding, trying to get, how do you write crap like this down? And stuff like this has happened to me a lot. My story is not just one. And so I take those aspects that I can't write down and vocalize, even some of the more horrible things that have happened. You can't, because it's just re-traumatizing for me. It's like the PTSD just kicks in again, and
You
then
don't want to relive that.
yeah, it's not fun. So, but when I write a story, I can take, aspects of these really horrible people that have been in my life, and I can make them into a character I can then control. It's kind of hard to explain. That's what I'm saying. It's actually really cathartic, and it's helping me a lot writing and doing all this writing, because I'm getting rid of it's like taking that evil that was part of you, that tried to attack you and tried to tear you down and destroy you. And then you're like, I won. In the end, I won. You tried to do this, but now I've come past that. But you should look into, it's actually a really, really interesting trend. And it's sad though, because there's so many women who go through things like this all the time, every day.
Every day. Yeah. And there's probably a lot of stories we never hear about because the woman is too embarrassed. Their family has been telling them for a long, you got to get away from this person, or it's so traumatizing.
Well, yeah, and one, I was literally forced into marriage, where I was locked into a room, and I was escorted from one place to the next. This is fucking America, okay? Forced to marry this guy, and then this guy who's mad pulls a 22 and sticks it to my head. These are the kind of things I've lived through, and I'm just like, so this is what I'm saying. It's like I can't write all this stuff down. I just can't. And so, storytelling and writing all these ridiculous, stupid stories about demons. It's like, but it's fun. It's fun. But I can add an aspect to it that most people might not think about.
That's interesting. Well, that's good. So there is some of you in these stories, in this series that you are writing.
Yeah, and every book.
I know you have a book. You have book name, book titles, but is there like a series title for everything?
And I know people do that, but I hadn't even thought about that. I have no idea what I would even call the series. I don't know.
It'll come late. Maybe after you finish the third, because you're in the midst of finishing the third one. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm 2/3, 3/4 of the way done with the third book. I just haven't touched it because. Sophie, I've been editing yours, I've been editing mine, and then, getting the edits fixed from my editor on mine. And then Sophia and I are writing a book. So it's like my attention
is way off. You're everywhere.
I have not focused on book 3 at all. And I really need to. But it's nowhere near done now, that one. But I do need to hurry up and finish it.
Well, any final thoughts about how do you make sure that you don't burn out when you're writing? Do you ever feel like you're burning out, like you just got to step away or anything like that? How do you make sure that you balance it out so you're not just doing it 24/7 to where you just give up and just stop writing?
For me, what works for me is I set a goal. So if I'll set like 1,500 to 2,000 word goal for that day. If I don't meet it, that's all right. As long as I've written something, it's okay. But because sometimes I will just sit there and, I'm 10,000 words in, and then I'm like, okay, I need to stop. This is crazy. So to keep myself from pushing too far, I'll set a goal, like I said, 1,500 to 2,000 words. And once that goal is finished, I stop and walk away. It's like, okay, you know, and if I have an idea and say I'm in the middle of a scene or in the middle of a plot, I'll just put notes at the bottom going, da, 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 da. This is where I need to go. And then the next day I'll pick it up.
That's good. I like that. All right. Well, I want you to hang on here for a second because I am going to let people know where they can get the book right now here, Kennedy and Trump, at least on free download.
And when's the print version going to be ready?
Yeah, the print version, it may actually be up on lulu.com. I'll have to check that right now. But for the global distribution, once I get, so it's probably going to still be like another couple weeks to where you can go to like Prime, you know, Amazon Prime. You can go to barnesandnoble.com and buy it there. And so it's probably still another couple weeks out for that. And that's only because I had everything done. And then for whatever reason, with the author, I put the wrong author's name. I put my legal name because I thought I was supposed to put my legal name there instead of the name that I have for all of my other books. And so I was like, okay, do I just leave it the way it is? Or am I really going to go back and do all of this stuff and redo it? And I was like, you know what? I want to do this one right. I really want to do this one right. So yeah, it cost me a little bit more. It's actually available on lulu.com right now. I just looked at it right now. Let me see if I can share this. You may like this. Here, it let me put in multiple contributors too. So I put in the you as my editor, and I was able to put in some of the graphic people here. But see how it has this name here, Greg Fernandez Jr. So when I first published it, after doing all of that work, it published it as a different name, as my legal name, and I was like, oh.
Yeah,
that just bothered me. I could have left it the way it is.
No, I'm glad you changed it. No, keep it consistent so
right?
Everyone will know. Yeah,
I know, but it was just it was so much work to go through. So this is it. It is now available at lulu.com. I wonder if I can.
And I love that cover. I cannot. Your guy who did that did a great job.
That was actually Christian Coffins. I think you've been on a couple of shows with him. He was involved with some of the David Crowley stuff too. So yeah, he was the one who did the front cover, and yeah, he did a great job.
That's a great cover.
How do you make it? And because some people are like, oh, it's like a Two-Face. And yeah, it is like a Two-Face, but it's not in the bad way for any Batman fans out there. But yeah, I really love how he did it, and how, because I've seen people try to put Kennedy and Trump's face like similar, but they couldn't get it right. They couldn't get the teeth right. And this is, I just thought he did a great job. So Christian Coffins did a great job with that.
Yeah, kudos.
Yeah, he gets some credit for that too. So yeah, you can technically buy it right now on lulu.com for $15. If you want to wait for, and that's actually the best place to buy it. But if you want to buy it on either Amazon Prime or barnesandnoble.com, it'll probably still be another couple weeks. But otherwise, this thing is ready to go. You can see my contributors right here, Catherine. There you are, edited by Catherine Michelle. Cover design or artwork, Christian Coffins, because he did the front, and then my other guy who did the cover for the Gray Stage book. See, even I get that wrong. The Gray Stage, and for my 9/11 book, Derek Sharp. So he did the back work. He did the artwork for the back of the book there too. So everybody's there.
They did a fantastic job. It looks really nice.
Well, thank you. Yeah, they're really good. And then of course, that was just then I had somebody fix the ISBN number after I messed it up, because I felt bad going back and asking them to fix it. So I just paid a guy on Fiverr, paid him like $30 to just go and add in the new ISBN number. So It's all there. It's all ready. Everything is good to go. But yeah, you can get it directly from lulu.com. If you want the free download version, you can always get that here too. You can go, and I'll put that link up here too. I need to change this website. What is truth 911.wordpress.com. No one's going to remember that. But it's so old. I still get some traction from it. So I haven't gotten rid of it, but I will put that in there. But this also has, this is where you can get the free download. So I don't like reading PDFs. I cannot read like e-books or anything like that.
I love books.
Do you? Yeah. I can't read it on a computer screen. So I just can't do it. But for anyone that can, it is how you can download it for free right now. And it's all right there. 176 pages, some blank pages because it's some, some blank pages for side B or whatever. But that is definitely out there right now. You can download the book in a PDF version for free right now if you don't mind reading books on PDF or an ebook or anything like that. It's all there. And that is really it. That's all I wanted to cover during this session. So thank you, my friend.
Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. I will be in touch. I do want to do another. I know we want to do another Crowley video on the other channel. So if you want to host that, well, maybe I can't do it next week, but if you want to do it 2 Saturdays from now, or if you want me to host it, whatever you want to do, let's make that happen.
Okay, yeah, because we really need. I would really like to talk about the chair.
Yes, yeah, I was thinking about that, and actually, I was thinking about this last night. It's kind of weird, and I know it's not technically related to the chair, but that living room, the shot in the floor,
mm-hmm.
It doesn't really have any DNA, which is weird. So somebody's DNA should be on there, and then the shot in the ceiling. When we think about with the David Crowley case, when you think about that, they say that there were no signs of a struggle. I mean, that to me seems like 2 possible signs of a struggle with a gun, where somebody is shooting up in the. Now you would have to believe that there was a shot in the ceiling whenever the murders happened, whenever this happened. You have to believe that, and as you know, there's a lot of reason why you wouldn't buy that. But if you did buy that, you could see how there's a struggle. 1 shot goes into the ground.
Yeah, because if they're fighting, you could easily see where it does that. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're kind of both in the same area. They're both kind of by that front window where both bullets, are where they're both fired. So I don't know. But I'll be curious to hear what you have about the recliner. I think there's just that. I know I wouldn't call it a smoking gun, but it's pretty close to a smoking gun, I would think. There's something.
Just tells them that they should have tested that blood.
The biggest blood stain in the whole house.
Yep.
In the whole house.
And they ignored
it. Not by anybody's body. It's away from the bodies. Why would you not test that? I don't understand it. Unless you know what you're going to find. And you don't find it. You don't want to find it. There's a little teaser there, but we will come back on the Gray Stage channel or on Catherine's channel. What's your channel, Catherine?
What is it? I don't even know. I think it's.
Let me pull it up. I got it here somewhere.
I think it's Catherine Michelle Investigates David Crowley. I don't know.
Yeah, I got it here. I want to put it in the chat.
I'm so bad at this stuff.
Did you change the name? I think you're right. Catherine Michelle. There you are. Catherine Michelle Investigates David Crowley. All right. Share this tab. So this is Catherine's channel here. And I'm going to put that.
And see, that's my AI photo I created.
Aha. I was going to say, how'd you get the coffee to look like? I can get the crema to look a little bit like that, but nothing.
Well, that's why I'm saying I can't say I hate AI all the time because I love to make pictures with AI. But yeah, that's what I created in Copilot.
That's the one. This is interesting. This For You section too, where they kind of are telling me the next thing that I should look at, the next video I should look at. I always found that interesting. I actually like that. I
Yeah.
like that for new people that just come to the channel and they put it right up there. That's cool. Yep. And we just did a show last week, I think. Right?
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, right there. Yeah. You may have to rename. You may have to change the name of that one.
Yeah, I do. I'll go in and do that today. You are correct.
But that was good. It was nice to hear Kristen talk
Yeah,
about
that was so last minute. It's like 2 minutes before we're going live, she sends me a message real fast, and I'm like, "Oh, okay." she's like, "I got new information," and I'm like, "Well, that couldn't perfect timing." Is like we're covering the case, and then a family member might as well
get them on there. There you go. All right, my friend, I'm gonna sign off here. I gotta go mow my lawn and try to get some yard work done before it gets too bright. It's a bright, nice, sunny day. It's very nice chatting with you, and thank you as always for joining, for editing, for your friendship, and we will be in touch. I'll be contacting you very soon.
sounds good.
All right, talk to you soon.
Bye.
All right, everyone, have a good one.